Hello, hello, and welcome to the Savoya Self-Care channel. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to this video and the important information in this video all about stress and how to manage stress. One of my favorite books that I picked up recently is Breath by James Nestor. So he talks about the science really behind breathing and how to manipulate your breathing and control your breathing to help you through different types of situations. So today I'll be showing you 4 different breathing techniques that can help you manage stress in a very stressful situation, or something that you can practice on a daily basis and make it part of your morning or nighttime routine. So let's get to it, shall we? As you know, I have a quick presentation just to sort of help with the visuals. Let's see here. Okay, awesome. So this is one of my favorite quotes. I actually don't know where it comes from, but I find it super interesting because it's true, right? Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it, which you can actually choose how you respond to it. So, you know, nothing is permanent. Everything is temporary. Just sort of plow through when things are not as you wish them to be and keep smiling. That's kind of my motto. And it's served me very well throughout the years. So I wish this on you. And I just thought that it was quite interesting. So that 90%, how we respond to it, what does that mean exactly? Well, let me give you a little bit of background in terms of what happens in our body. So whenever we have any type of information or situation that comes into our awareness, it passes through the part of our brain called the limbic brain. And the limbic brain part of our brain the limbic part of our brain has to filter that situation or that information through our beliefs, our values, and our past experiences. And then based on that assessment, whether we determine that to be a stressful situation or not, our nervous system is going to respond accordingly. So there are 2 arms to our nervous system: the sympathetic nervous system, which is basically the gas pedal, right? Goes down our spinal cord through the back, activating things and mobilizing energy, like playing sports or activities that involve using energy. So it's often called as the fight or flight or freeze response that we have to a certain type of stimuli or information, right? That goes into our brain. Then there is the parasympathetic response, opposite role of the sympathetic response, and it slows things down. And you can look at it as the brakes. Okay, it's a system we engage in when we are more engaged in relaxing activity. So both branches are always active, right? It just depends on how we perceive that particular information. So this is oftentimes known as the rest and digest. All right, so we have these 2 sort of different parts of our nervous system. So what's happening? So if a lion walked into the room that you're in right now, that would be a pretty stressful situation, unless you're a lion tamer, of course. But for most of us, it would be a pretty stressful event, right? So here's what happens. Our brain will send an immediate signal down your spine through the spinal cord to trigger a fight or flight response and activate the sympathetic nervous system. Why? Because you want to run from the tiger, right? So when you're, sorry, from the lion. So when you're in a fight or flight, here's what happens automatically. You don't even have to think about it. And thank God for that, right? Because we need that immediate response. Your pupils are going to dilate, and that's because we need to see more information so that you can determine an escape route, right? Or determine the proper stress response. Your blood pressure is going to increase. Your respiratory rate is going to increase to help you get ready to run from that lion. Your blood is going to be diverted away from the abdomen or the digestive system and into the arms and legs so that you can run away from that lion, okay? Your reproductive and digestive functions are going to slow down, if not even stopped, right? Because it's not that important now to digest your food. You need to run from the lion, or else you're going to be his food, right? You may empty your bowels because of a full bladder makes it less efficient at running away from that lion, right? Makes sense. Another mechanism of the fight or flight response is that glucose is liberated, okay, in order for it to go into the bloodstream so that you can have this immediate source of energy to run away from that lion. And so we're using glucose as a primary source of fuel versus liberating actual fat stores. So you can see the connection between being very, very stressed and actually storing fat because you're utilizing glucose more so than fat. So there's a whole series of events that takes place when your fight or flight system gets triggered. And again, to echo my words from before, this is a very good thing, right? We want this to happen because we want to have that energy and mobilize that energy in order to run away from the lion. That's super needed, right? And to keep us alive, really. But it's a quick response, and technically it's only supposed to be for a small period of time, right? Probably a couple of seconds, because you either escape from the lion or you're the lion's lunch. So let me give you a more realistic example. When a car pulls up in front of you and you have a near accident, it's a sympathetic nervous system that is activated that tells the adrenal glands to secrete epinephrine, and which is a hormone, and you feel that adrenaline rush and quickly move out of the way because of that increased blood flow to your extremities, dilated pupils, so you can know which way to jump, etc. Right? So that's super important that actually happens automatically in our bodies. But the real issue is that with our modern day society, because most of us are operating in a fight or flight state for most of the day, would you not agree, right? And here's the kicker. Our brain cannot determine between real stress, acute stress, or perceived stress. Even if it's not real, you're just thinking about it. So it will automatically respond and trigger that cascade of events, whether you're actually running away from a lion or your horrible boss, or just imagining it, it's going to activate the same type of response. So that's why I believe, with many other experts in the field, this is why we have so many chronic issues today. How many people do you know with high blood pressure? And it's caused primarily from stress. Most of the high blood pressure, it's not even nothing to do with food and what they're eating. It's mostly stress related, or reproductive or digestive issues, and so on, right? They can all be attributed back to stress, as well as exercise. Now, you might think, oh my gosh, exercise is so good for you, but too much of it or not having that recovery time will cause stress in your body. And that will also be another burden that you need to deal with, right? So that's a word of caution, is making sure that you are doing the right type of exercises for your body, but as well as giving yourself enough recovery time, and obviously sleeping too, in order to recover with that strenuous exercise, right? So I just wanted to give you guys that aside. So what do we do? How do we deal with this? This is where becoming an observer of your breath is super, super important. And these breathing techniques that I'm about to show you are going to be super helpful. They're super short and sweet to remember. And you can even share these with your kids if they're having anxiety or stress, because they're super simple to do. So I know this seems so simple, but it actually takes some time to get used to. You need to actually practice to become a good breather, believe it or not, an observer of your breath as well, because we are so distracted these days that we don't do this at all. We actually do the opposite. We become even more distracted and even more stressed, right? So it's super important to, find the time to sit in your own, I guess, world in silence, and really cultivate being that observer of your thoughts and emotions, right? And I'm learning more and more about the importance of noticing our breathing pattern. And there's so much more science-based research now that I'm not going to go into. Maybe I'll share it in a blog and you can read my blog. But from an ancient spiritual sense, breathing has always been so important to almost every culture and religion, right? I mean, if we consider yoga, for example, one of the main practices of yoga is not the actual postures or the asanas, but it's being aware of your breath in union with the body, the mind, and the spirit. So syncing all of these three areas with your breath. And then, of course, through the postures as well. So an interesting fact, I don't know if you knew this, but 25 to 50% of us are actually mouth breathers. And you're probably like, yeah, and so what's the big deal, Rita? Well, for starters, the primary function of our mouth is to chew and to assimilate our food. It's not to breathe, right? Our nose is actually the primary organ that's responsible for breathing. So when we are mouth breathing, guess which part of the nervous system we're actually activating? Yep, you guessed it right. It's that fight or flight sympathetic state that gets easily flustered, looking for the negative situation, sending that blood flow away from our digestive organs, right? Increasing our blood pressure, increasing our blood sugar, and stopping our digestion, and so on, right? That cascade just by mouth breathing. If you think about it, that's pretty crazy, right? So, would you agree that paying a little bit more attention to how we breathe could yield some positive effects on your body and the way you respond to stress? All right, so how do we do that? Well, it's being in the present moment. So we usually, most of us will either live in the past or worry about something that hasn't even happened yet in the future. Now, you can get excited about your future for sure, but if you're anxious about your future, then that anxiety will trigger the fight or flight stress response. And we don't want that, right? So, one of the best ways to anchor you into the present moment is to be in with your breath. So I invite you to really make an attempt to stay in the moment as much as you can today, for the rest of the week, for the rest of the month, for the rest of your life. Get out of your head and be present with yourself. And when you are around family and friends, as Ram Dass says, be here now. So practice it that way if you want to start. Just kind of when you get home from work, just really be present as opposed to being somewhere else on your phone and scrolling through Instagram or something like that. So here are these 4 techniques. We're going to start with one super simple one, and it's basically becoming aware of your breath, right? And making a sincere attempt to breathe through your nose, because the research is very clear. We want to be doing that as opposed to breathing through our mouth, right? Because we want to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. So ideally, we want to breathe in for 3 to 5 seconds and then out for 6 to 10 seconds. So double that, right? Because long exhales are the quickest way to induce calm. So if you're experiencing extreme stress, you could even purse your lips as if you were about to whistle when you're breathing out. So you breathe in really slowly. And then when you're breathing out, you purse your lips and you exhale without straining for about twice as long as I mentioned earlier, right? And then you kind of continue through your nose and slowly out through your pursed lips, directing your breath to fill your belly, not your chest. So we want diaphragmatic breathing. Okay. We don't want shallow chest breathing. We want to breathe through our belly. We want to see our belly go in and out, not our chest go up and down. And you can really use this technique to avoid a full-scale panic attack. So it's super, super helpful. Okay, this one is actually called box breathing, and the Navy SEAL uses this technique to stay calm and focused in a tense situation. And it's super simple. And if it's good enough for the Navy SEAL, I think it's good enough for us, right? So you basically inhale to a count of 4. You hold, so you're drawing a box with your breath, basically. Inhale to a count of 4, you hold for 4, exhale for 4, and then hold for 4 and repeat as much as you need. So I usually do this before I fall asleep, just to kind of calm me down before my mind starts racing about the things that I need to do. So this one's really, really helpful. Box breathing, it's called. This technique is made famous by Dr. Andrew, and you can actually look it up as well on YouTube. He's got this amazing YouTube video explaining how to do it. But basically, here's a gist. And it's again to bring your body into a state of deep relaxation. Okay. So he actually offers a step-by-step instructional video that's like over 4 million views on YouTube. So you take a breath in, then you exhale through your mouth with a whoosh sound. Close the mouth and inhale quietly through your nose to a mental count of 4. Hold for a count of 7. Exhale completely through your mouth with a whoosh to the count of 8. The longer exhales again will elicit a stronger parasympathetic response. Repeat this cycle for at least 4 breaths. And then let me know how that goes. And then the last, but definitely not least, is the nose songs. So this is actually from James Nestor's book. And it's called nitric oxide. Sorry, it's called nose songs because it helps to increase nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a powerhouse molecule that widens our capillaries, increases oxygenation, and relaxes the smooth muscles. So all you have to do, this is actually pretty fun, is hum. Humming increases the release of nitric oxide in the nasal passage 15-fold. So it's the most effective and simple and natural method of increasing this essential gas. So you breathe normally through the nose and hum any sound or song, and practice for at least 5 minutes a day, if more, if possible. So I know it may sound ridiculous and you feel ridiculous doing it, or you may be annoying someone beside you, but the effects are so potent. So maybe you could even go for a walk and be humming away. So that's it. Those are the 4 techniques. I mean, there are so many breathing techniques that you can be using to help you bring yourself to in a parasympathetic state so that you're more relaxed and calm, and be able to kind of carry on with your day and deal with that stress. You can check out my YouTube channel as well with more breathing techniques that will just be audio, so you can actually sort of follow along with the breath work. But I wanted to make this video so that you know where this is all coming from. And if you have any questions, please email me or comments below. That would be greatly appreciated. So stay tuned for more stress techniques and stress management techniques. And I wish you an amazing day. Ciao for now.